I want to start just by saying welcome, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us in another session from our webinar series, Insights from the Field. Today, we are welcomed by one of our wonderful Los Angeles agents, Aneela Zaman, and she will be hosting our webinar today. She does hail from Toronto, and Aneela has always had a keen eye for design in emerging trends. So today, she will be talking about renovation strategy, which plays a major role in bringing a house to market successfully in the real estate world, and having more of an image driven than really you've ever seen before. So in today's session, Aneela will be demonstrating how an eye for design and attention to detail can give you a competitive advantage in today's market. There is a few housekeeping items, so if you have any questions throughout the session, guys, please drop them into the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to get to them as we go. But we have allotted the last 10 to 15 minutes of today's sessions for Q&A as well. If you prefer to ask the questions live, please just go ahead and raise your hand, use that option on the Zoom, and we'll unmute your mic so that you can chat with us directly. That said, Aneela, I would love to start by learning more on your background and how you got into design and real estate.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for asking me to speak today. I'm really excited to share a little bit about myself and how I got started. My career actually started as a makeup artist in Toronto. I came out to Los Angeles for love. In the process, it was very hard for me to work being from Toronto and Canadian. I had to wait for some time to actually get my, paperwork in order so I could go out there and work. In the meantime, I lived up in the Hollywood Hills off of Laurel Canyon and Lookout Mountain. My ex-husband, now is an ex-husband, but at that time was my live-in boyfriend and turned into a husband, had a big dog, and I'd walk that dog every morning and go up along the hills and look at the houses. And being an artist, being a makeup artist, I would look at the homes from the exterior and I'd be like, oh, if I could just add a little black trim here, or if I could just paint this fence or add a little flowers here, would really make this place look fabulous. And I did that because of the creativity that was in me as a makeup artist. I'd go to friends' homes and I'd walk in and they would tell me like, we're thinking of renovating, or we're thinking we're selling. I would volunteer and sort of share what I thought they could do to their homes to get it ready to go to market. Or if they were going to stay in their homes and just wanted to give it a good facelift, what I would suggest to sort of take that and enhance it. Because I was taking my makeup skills. I was taught to enhance the face, right? So makeup is all about highlighting and contouring. And I actually just took that and applied it right to the homes. And I got divorced and I thought, what am I going to do? And that's how I got into real estate. I thought, well, why don't I just use my skills, become a real estate agent and help people, find homes, renovate them, build them, and bring beauty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so funny because I feel like most people wouldn't put makeup and real estate together, but they're completely transferable skills, right? We have this wow factor. We have a base, a shell, a face that we can just turn into something magnificent and something so different.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the fun part for me is I like to make things, I like to enhance it. I like to make them look pretty and give them a new look to it.
Most definitely. So Aneela, when you are working to design a home or put a home on the market to sell, what are the key things you are looking for?
Well, definitely there's the curb appeal. So I like to start right from the moment that they're going to put their eyes on the house. So curb appeal is really, really important. You want to almost start the story before they even get into the home. And that starts from the outside as they're coming into the home. So curb appeal is really important when putting a house on the market. Entrance, the minute you walk in, after you've wowed them from like, oh, I think I like it. I like the feeling here. I like the colors, I like what's happening on the outside. Now they're intrigued. They want to come on the inside, and you got to catch them on that first entrance. So what is it that they're seeing? How can we change it? How can we make it look pretty and continue that story of wanting them to keep moving forward and getting more impressed and falling more in love with it and seeing themselves in it? So curb appeal, entrance, big ticket kitchen, because everything happens in the kitchen. We all come in.
Oh yeah.
Make things right. When you're hosting, does everyone hang out in your kitchen or your dining room or?
Oh, for sure. When I'm thinking about rooms, that's the place where everyone gathers. That's the place where everyone in the house is probably in numerous times a day. I mean, we all need to eat, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely. 4 things: curb appeal, entrance, how do they feel when they come in the kitchen, and then the bathrooms. We've got to talk about that. We spend so much time in our bathrooms. We're in there at least twice, morning and night, maybe a third time also. But what do you feel like when you go in your bathroom? Is it your oasis?
Right.
You relax, or you're brushing your teeth, you're washing your hair, you want to feel that, oh, I feel so good doing this, getting ready for bed. I feel so good going out
Right.
today, because your bathroom is that.
Yeah, you really start and end in the bathroom. At least I'm hoping so, that everyone
Most
has
of
good
us.
dental hygiene and brushing our teeth, right?
Exactly. So those are really important things to think about. Again, whether you're going to sell your home or it's just for yourself renovation, think about these points: your curb, your entrance, your kitchen, and your bathroom.
Well, that's great. I really would love to dive into each one of those in detail. So
Sure.
let's get started with curb appeal. In your experience, what are some easy ways to give that curb appeal and to bring those people in just from looking at the outside of the house?
So right when I'm looking from the outside, if I see anything off, like, okay, thank you for pulling up this slide. This is a house,
Yeah.
the McConnell house. When we finished, you can see the side fence are still in the wood. And when I
Mhm.
first saw this, I was traveling and they sent me a picture. They're like, we're done. And I was like, no, we're not done. To me, this isn't curb appeal. It just seems slightly off to me because of the wood is distracting to me. And I said, this is a quick fix. The fence is great. We just need to paint it black to match what we're seeing on the garage, what we're seeing on the door, and even the black fixtures, the numbers. We need to make the eye feel like it's just all consistently still flowing rather than a jarring
Mm.
situation happening. So if you see that's the before, let's see it when we painted it.
Yeah.
Paint, but
What a
that
difference.
changed it, right?
It's and you know what, it honestly, like you were saying before, the wood really stands out. So it's taking away from this beautiful garage with the reflection and these colors and the tones, because you're just going into this kind of tan wood color. And it, like you said, it really takes away
It
from
takes
the rest of the home.
it almost in value also, like for the dollar amount that you're going to get with the paint of a coat of paint. Look at the difference that you're creating. This
Mhm.
looks elevated in my opinion. The other looked slightly like something's off.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Now, I did just see in the chat, let's see. Igor says, "Oh, not seeing the photos." So
Oh,
we have our screen sharing in. We have help from Taylor. So Devin can see them. So Igor, maybe just go into your Zoom and you can see our screen sharing. Thank you, Devin and Mitch, for letting us know you can see them. So Aneela, we can continue with
okay.
that.
Yeah. Well, that's an
Perfect.
example of like from the outside, like right when you're walking towards a home, what is everything that you're seeing? How does it make you
Mhm.
feel? For me, the jarring of the wood got to me. So I wanted to make it more like subtle with the black and just
Yeah.
continuously tell that same story right across.
Yeah, definitely. Now, going into entryways, we've seen the curb appeal. We're in the home. It's so important. This is your introduction to possibly your new home in a place that you're gonna make all of these new memories. I'd love to hear more about how you
This
change the
is
space.
this is East
Absolutely
Coast,
beautiful.
very Victorian style East Coast. We have a lot of vertical, and this is a very traditional kind of Victorian home. As soon as you walk in, you're welcoming is a staircase that pays you up. And in this case, this is such a quick fix because we took away the carpet and we painted everything white, and also a flatter
Mhm.
finish where you see there's more texture in the wall before, but we've smoothed it all out and we just painted it white. And the simplicity of just painting the banister, the railing that's going up along the stair there, you see how it was wood before, but you add that
Mhm.
little black, there's a little contrast now happening to the white. It's a pop to the eye. It's almost like when you put on an eyeliner in your eye and you want to create that smoky vibe, you do a black liner in the eye, you're contracting it a little bit, you're putting some highlighters on the top of your lids, you're opening up that, and that's more or less what's done here. So the carpet's been removed. The flooring could have stayed parquet. We just wanted to lighten it up a little bit more, pop it with a little black on the banister railing there, put everything white. And the other little thing that's always so wonderful, and you can do it either way sometimes depending on what you're trying to create, is there's a smaller light above, but we changed it with the chandelier, but we did it also with crystal clear glass. So there's a
Mhm.
little elevation happening on the after with just that little accent right there. And if you look at we've got the knobs there, the hooks to hang your jackets or your hats when you come in, but they're also
Mhm.
complementing the actual chandelier and the clear knobs that we're using rather than just a solid hook.
Yeah.
Finish on top of that ties in with the chandelier.
It's amazing. I mean, and here's another entryway. Oh, we'll go back to the next slide. So another entryway. I mean, this is wow factor at the height, right? It looks like a totally, completely different home.
Right.
And I mean, if I walked into the first one, I am definitely immersed back into what is this? What year would you say that this was in, Aneela?
This,
The first one,
that's
the
probably
before.
like 80s. That's like
80s. I felt
80s.
I
Yeah.
felt immersed for sure. And the clean, pristine, the color change is what I'm seeing. I think the contrast in the white and the black is really what's made the difference. Can you talk more on that?
Yeah, like if you see the wainscoting, that the division of between a top wall and a bottom wall, well,
Mhm.
you can actually create such a like a wow oomph factor just simply by look at what we did there, painted the black wall on the bottom base, right? So that's really
Mhm.
what happened here. And then the other thing is removing the carpet that's there and adding some black and white tile, a pattern on the floor. Actually, it's actually hygienically better to have tile rather than an entire carpet when you're tracking in, hygienic.
Mhm.
I always think about that as well. So the tiles are a really nice way to just sort of add a little bit flair to the ground and tying in the whole story. And the whole story here is just black and white. The banister stayed
Yeah.
the same. It hasn't changed. The white on the other side of the banister has stayed the same. The only change that if you look at it is the banister, the top rail is stayed black, but the actual verticals that are going down the actual banister rail is black. So where you
Mhm.
see the before it was white. Do you see the rail is black, but then
Yeah,
to
definitely.
just sort of make it more consistent. And we're doing that because of the fact that we divided the black and white, bottom black, top being white on the banister. We did the top being the rail and the wood between it black, but then the bottom part being white.
Totally. I mean, it makes it look so much larger that you guys have just decided to merely add paint. That's what I can see here, in the back and going up these stairs. You already have the outline. You've just added to it. And looking back, I'm like, how did they not do that before? It adds so much. And I think it looks like they were trying to add a lot with these paintings, right?
Yes.
But
And
it's
that happens a lot. You're right. That's a good eye, Serena, for noticing that the paintings, because of the wainscoting, they've now, or the trim there in the middle there, they've added a painting above, but the paintings are so small. And it's like, when I look at it, I'm like, the art is right below, meaning that you can
Mhm.
accent this whole wall black, and that's your art. That tells more than the little pictures on the actual wall.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I absolutely love that. Entryways are so important. We'll go on to these next slides here. And what I wanted to ask for these ones is, I love how you choose different spaces in homes that may not serve a greater purpose. But how do you take these smaller, more unique, maybe older rooms and, give them the oomph wow factor?
Yeah, back
I
in
would
the
love to talk
day,
about this one.
sure. Back in the day, our homes, now we're seeing more of a like an open floor plan where everything's kind of blending in. But back in the day, around the 60s, 70s, 80s, they tend to keep rooms, in their space. Like, okay, this is the kitchen, and we've got all these little walls around and doors even back in the day. Now we're breaking through all this. This is a great example of a room that was created again in the East Coast. And it didn't really serve, like, I didn't know what do you do with this room? To me, it was small. You don't do this as a kitchen, you don't do as dinette, but you want to make it a hangout. How do we capture a hangout room that is warm, and being that it's colder climate, coziness? If you really look at the bookshelves on the before, they have handles, and it's an actual cabinet, but it takes away a lot of space, is what I felt. So what
Mhm.
you do is we created a bookshelf that's all open. Now you can put your books in there and create this into more of a den lounge area, somewhere where you have a cup of tea in the morning when it's raining or it's cold out, or you have your wine, your whiskey at the end of the evening. The dark colors on the wall also bring in that warmth for you.
Mhm.
It's a built-in bench, as you can see. So now you got the seating. You don't need to actually buy an actual sofa or something because it could
Right.
stay. So almost like creating symmetry with a bookshelf and a
Mhm.
built-in shelf with some pillows there, really bringing that coziness. And then just adding the floor. I actually liked the hardwood floor. I wouldn't have changed. I would have left. I would have still done exactly the same and leaving it, but Just to
Mhm.
add a little different, a little fun to it, you can change the floor into a black and white, some geometric shapes in there also.
And you know what I'm noticing here as well, Aneela, is they've decided to put the curtains all the way at the top. This has elongated this room so much more. I mean, these pictures are the same exact specs, but
Mhm.
it looks so much taller, so much larger. I'd love to hear more about
That's a great
why
point.
someone would choose that.
Great question. Great point. You can see that the trim of the window ends at a certain point, and some people tend to, they just go right to put the rod or the curtains right where the frame ends. And as you've noticed, if you went up just a couple of inches higher, you're actually creating an illusion of more length. And you can
Mhm.
even do it with side. If you have a narrow window, you don't need your curtains to fall right where the frame is. You can actually extend it a couple of inches on each side and let the panel of the curtains hang off on the wall. But to the eye, it might seem that the window is much larger because that's what you're doing. You're framing around to give that illusion that it's larger. So absolutely correct. The window looks much larger just simply by putting a trim slightly higher than where
Right.
it actually starts.
Yeah, this room is absolutely gorgeous. Let's go ahead and on to the next slide so we can talk about another one of our rooms that you've completely transformed. I mean, again, day and night, right? I can see so many things. The main thing that points out to me is this the staircase.
Yeah.
We've changed not, from horizontal to vertical. I really want to know what that does for the room. From white to black. So what was the idea behind that?
Well, okay, if you look at the landing where the stairs go up, that actual landing has horizontal panels. To the eye level, you're blocking in the view of the stairs, that landing. So how do you show the depth of that actual landing? Change the change your directions. I mean, we could have painted this black and made it fun, but also to create more expansion there.
Mhm.
The actual positioning of how the beams are put into the staircase makes a big difference. And the black on the gray is beautiful the way it pops. It's almost the same color, but it's just the contrast of the black added to the same paint color. It's such a contrast that it really makes that paint color even stand out further. The before to me with the white, just everything kind of blended in, and you
Mm.
can't really see the effect. And so you need a little like a splash, to really
Yeah.
bring it out to life. And that's done with the black contrast.
And I like it because it makes it feel like the room flows a bit more. You're not cutting off and going to the second story, because you want these rooms to flow a bit more, especially in a smaller space.
Also, absolutely, if you look at the bookshelves, the length of that bookshelf, the reason why also for the eye it was cut off on that landing is first you have the horizontal, then you have this big bookshelf that goes right to the length of the actual last railing on the landing.
Mhm.
And so now look, the bookshelf's gone, but we're gone down to the base of where the landing starts rather than to the top of it. So you've
Mhm.
also created more room there for the eye to see.
Amazing. You've played to your strengths so much in these rooms. I do want to talk about playing to more strengths in rooms that sellers should focus on. So, what rooms are most important for getting top dollar for resale?
For top dollar resale, your most important rooms are going to be your kitchen and
Mhm.
your bathroom. Everything happens in the kitchen. So make sure that the kitchen is updated if you're looking for selling your house and you want to get
Mhm.
top dollar and you don't want to leave any money on the table. I would highly advise, and look, sometimes it could just be as easy as again as paint and
Mhm.
actually changing the hardware that's on your actual cabinets, because we can almost look back and we can tell you what date a kitchen was done just by the color of like the cabinets, like as you're seeing right now, these dark
Mhm.
cherry color cabinets. That's, I'm going to say that's the 80s, 90s kind of vibe.
Mhm.
But if you really just, reface it, you don't have to break it. You don't have to sometimes rip out everything out of your kitchen because that's a big cost. And people are like, I can't afford that. I understand.
Right.
Our job as realtors is really to give our experience to a seller and make it so it's cost effective for them, but they're going to get the result of top dollar. And so that's where it really becomes important who you're working with, because I'm not coming in there, or another agent's not coming in there to like make you pay more on fixing things, but how can we cleverly fix things that we know aesthetically is going to be appeasing to the mass? And in this case, it's like, let's just reface the actual cabinets. Let's not destroy everything here. Let's kind of keep what we have, reface, put new handles. In this case, we did move the counter around, because if you see before, the counter's on an angle, like a 90 kind of somewhat of an angle there. That is closing off the entrance to the kitchen. Like you've got a little elbow there going. It was the style back in the day. It worked for that time, but for now, as we're getting more into creating open space and movement, flow, let's just keep the counter, but not bring out an extra elbow. Let's just keep it straight as an island piece, which seems to be working today.
Well, and like you were saying, it is completely different on how it was a few decades ago. They used to want to kind of close off the kitchen and make it its own room, but now we want everything to flow. We want to be able to move about and not feel kind of trapped or secluded in one room. So I know that we were talking a bit more about big renovations to little renovations and what we can do. I see in this one, this is a bit of a larger renovation.
This is a bit of a work. This wasn't just like, we'll probably go through some slides where it's just simply the face out change. This is a little bit more work, but the point is to show what a difference a room can be with a little more. If you've got the budget and you want to add to it, definitely.
100%. We can go on to the next slide. This is one of my favorite kitchens. I mean, this looks like it could be put in a cozy little, townhome or a cottage. I want to live in this kitchen. So I'd love to hear more about how this was transformed.
First thing first is I love wood. The woods have to be in the right places for me, right? So, and this wood is a little dated. Like the woods that we're doing now, the white oaks, the grains go in a different direction. They tend to have a length to them so that when you're doing them on cabinets and stuff, it actually works. This is a little bit, to me, this kind of reminds me a little bit of the 70s vibe to me. Very cottage vibe too. And the cabinets above are a little short. So adding some longer, cabinets with a nice neutral gray. Gray is a beautiful color. It's such a pretty color because you can play off with a lot of tones in there. So yeah, this one is more or less adding some length when length is needed, doing a nice backsplash with some subway tiles, angling them differently instead of being straight. But you can play with things like this, right? The floor, I love adding texture and patterns on the floor. I think it's like a rug without being a real rug.
Yeah, I'm seeing going through the photos that's a heavy thing as we see the floors change so much, but it really adds so much to the space.
It does. And I think, some people don't take a little bit of a risk when it comes to flooring. They kind of stick with the traditional one pattern, one color, that's it. But you can actually do so much. You can take the same pattern. You could have left it all white in the middle and trimmed it around. And that's what I'm saying. It can actually become an illusion that there's a rug there, and it's not. It's all like materials that is porcelain, tile, or wood. We did a project where we did wood in the middle, and on the exterior of the ending of the room, we trimmed it out with just black tiles. And it was great because it had the warmth of the wood, and then it had that little expression of a gloss on the end with black tiles. And it's just take a chance and have fun.
Right. No, 100%. But that's why we have people like you, because some people can't just take that chance. I love to hear it. This is so helpful for me. I'm getting so many ideas for my own home. And we'll go on to this one. This is, not a huge renovation. I can see that these cabinets, they have the same bones. Can you tell me more about what you guys did here?
This is like someone, again, that doesn't want to spend too much money, is limited on their budget, going according to the budget and going, okay, you have this much to work with. Let's see what we can do with that. And this is a true reface with removing one cabinet that's in the center there. That's in the old picture. You can see the before. It's a stovetop. It's sort of electrical built right onto the counter. So removing the cabinet above it, adding a little hood above that, and then just refacing the actual cabinets. The length of it, they're all the same. It's just refacing it different colors. So it's paint and refacing on that, and a new counter and some floors,
And
but
I
really
love
there's
that.
nothing breaking here. Like we're not breaking
Yeah.
on this.
Oh, for sure. And I love the handle choice as well, having horizontal and vertical dependent on what type of drawer it is and its function. I,
Mhm.
I think that makes such a big difference as
It
well.
really does. Like the drawers, you're right, that little knob, look when you go from the drawers with the knob to a drawer with the longer handle, it makes
Mhm.
such a difference for the eye and aesthetically what it makes you, it just elevates it all again.
Oh, most definitely. Now, I know we talked about bathroom as being more important too, hoping that
Mhm.
everyone is in there beginning of the day and end. Tell me more about this one. It's completely different as well.
Yeah, again, these are just older homes that,
Mhm.
there was a style when builders were doing the bathrooms, and it was a very typical thing to find, excuse me, where you find the two sinks and then one massive mirror on the wall, and it worked, and it was
Yeah.
this time and it looked great. We're transitioning, we're trying to make everything a space of its own now, and still creating like glamour in there and clean lines.
Mhm.
And so pretty much it's the same concept, sticking with the two sinks because it's a couple that lives there, but now giving them individually their own mirrors, and that
Right.
alone just changes the way that bathroom is looking, changing the hardware again. The faucets are
Mhm.
gone black, the handles are gone black, black and white floors. You're gonna see, I love black and white and oak or wood in bathrooms. Or I play off of that so much, whether it's tiles on the
Mhm.
floor or solid tiles. I just love the black and white. And as a makeup artist, the most neutral colors you can use, and then you can play off
Right.
and mixing them
Oh,
gives you great.
definitely.
So very simple, very simply, just kind of sticking with the bones of it.
Mhm.
Doing a new counter, a nice gray white that lets you play off with a lot of stuff. Cabinetries are changed. Again, the hardware is changed over here. And the biggest difference, I think, is really adding those mirrors and elongating that space, because that's a long wall on the before if you see it.
Oh,
And it's not
yeah.
captured because it's going horizontal, that mirror. I
Right.
think that inspiration, a lot of that came from Restoration Hardware. I was at the Restoration Hardware store, the flagship on Melrose, and I walked into one of their showcases of their bedrooms, and I loved seeing these massive long mirrors, like, from the
Mhm.
ceiling all the way down. They did it in the beds. They did it next to the beds on the side of the bed. I thought, oh, I love that. And that illusion of length started coming to me. I was like, oh,
Right.
off the length on things.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, there's so much space in the before picture. What are you going to do with that space? And you've done so much with it, and it's just by turning that mirror, the opposite way. We have one more bathroom picture after this. I love that we've done the same thing. We've taken that long mirror in the 90s where, it worked for the time being, but you've made it feel like instead of this master bathroom with two sinks, being one space, it feels like two completely different spaces.
Yeah, he can have his space and you can have his, because I know sometimes my ex-husband, when he would brush his teeth, it would go
Uh,
all over the mirror, and I'm so OCD, it would drive me bananas. And it's like, how do we avoid the silly arguments over silly things? It's like, okay, you get your
mhm,
space, even though we're still together.
right.
You get your mirror, you can mess it up as much as you want.
It
Don't
does
mess
it
up
does feel
mine.
like that. Exactly. You clean your mirror, I'll clean mine. It's not the same. I need one of these. I'm gonna change my bathroom to two mirrors.
Yeah, absolutely. But visually, look at how pretty it looks when you do that division and you create that, right? And it's
Oh,
again,
for sure.
the hardware. The before absolutely has no hardware on the cabinets and drawers here, and
Mhm.
just simply adding that hardware just creates a whole different look. It's a little just accent. It's a little eyeliner. That's an eyeliner to me. It's like, oh, we just
An
eyelined
eyeliner.
that. We defined
Most
it a little
definitely.
bit.
I absolutely I love it. So I know, we've talked about the rooms, but let's talk about smaller homes like townhomes and condos. Can
Mhm.
you discuss ways to enhance smaller living spaces?
Yeah, Marina Del Rey townhomes. There's a lot of those happening, and they built them in the late 70s, early 80s, and they did a lot of the dark wood and stuff here. This is
Mhm.
another great example from the slide that we saw before, where we saw the horizontal on the landing, and it was a little distracting, and we went vertical. Here we have
Right.
the vertical, funny enough, but it just didn't work. The wood was a little too thick and heavy, the frame. So the frame has gotten a little more delicate now, a black again to pop that. And the lines are going horizontally rather than vertically on the railing here, closing off a wall behind so that we could create space. Because like you were saying, some of these homes are a little bit smaller in space. So how do we make it look like there is actually rooms in here? And sometimes you do want to close off a wall, like in this one, the railing at the of where the table went is no longer there. Just close that off and make it more contained as an actual dining room. You're still going to see it when you walk in because the side paneling is still open. You don't need it to be opened on the other side as well, because that's where the living room was, on the other side of it. So when you're sitting in the dining room and someone's watching TV, you do want to have some, space from each other, and that provides
well, and what we've talked about is having everything flow together, but in these smaller spaces you do want to block it off to make it seem bigger, that you have that second story. So I love that that's made it so you feel like you're going into a whole new room. Absolutely love this renovation.
If you really look through all of the things we did, I'm not sure if you see the consistency of black and white being very prominent in almost every renovation, right? It's such a neutral palette, and they play off of each other so well. White for expansion, black for an accent, and also to contract if you need it to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So we have another one after this. Let's go to our next. This is my favorite. You've taken a space that it looks completely blocked off. I don't even know what room this is, kind of in the first one. And it looks like you've created a whole new kitchen. I can see the kitchen in the back end. I want to hear more about everything that's going on in this one.
Yeah, this is another townhouse, downstairs, living room, kitchen, upstairs is your bedrooms. But that dark wood really contracted the place to make it feel really small. And then you've got a little half of a wall with the cutout looking into the kitchen. I didn't understand that either. I mean, I guess that's what they did. Again, some spaces you want to create a division, but in this one, you want to create more open space. So let's remove that wall and extend the counter, because there's cabinets above on the top of the other side of that wall with the cutout. There's cabinets on the top, but they're really high. You're not really using them. So just remove the entire wall, extend your counter slightly further with a little bit of a lip on the actual island so that you can create seating, like the chairs that are in front. So you can sit there and watch the person cook. And then you can take some shelving on the opposite side. So even though they're open shelving, it's still that you're not losing shelf. You can put it on the wall across, right?
And I think that's what people think is, oh, well, I have to put this wall up to create shelving. Where am I going to put my things? But you've done that with open shelving.
Yeah, with open
they'll have the space.
And then again, you're doing the contrast with black and white. But my best and favorite part about this is that staircase. When you look at that wall still is existing, only it's now painted white, and there's wood paneling in the front to create a division with enough strength, see-through, like it's open still. So you're still seeing, but you've created like an illusion of a wall without a full complete wall to close it completely off.
Yeah. I absolutely love this one. As I said, it's one of my absolute favorites. So we've gone into renovation and how to change rooms, what are most important. I would love to talk about staging. So how do you think about staging for success in today's market, Aneela?
Staging is such a key when you're selling a home and putting it on the market. A lot of times I find when you're living in your home, it's your story. It's about you, and it works for you, and that's great. But when we're trying to sell a home, we want to capture the masses, and we want to tell a story that the masses can see themselves in. And so how do we do that? A lot of times it is removing certain things and adding things, or even simply the placement of a mirror or an art. And we'll touch on that as you're going to go through these pictures. This particular piece right here, the backyard, this development happened during COVID. And during COVID, we realized the backyard was so important for people. People were home and they wanted to be out. So their backyards were going to be a key to their living. This house, when we finally finished it and we staged it, we took everything into consideration. We put we put a pool, we put a fire pit, we put a barbecue, we put a dining room, we put everything so you could be, that is your hangout. And when the staging was done, I was away. So some of these pictures were taken for me to sort of see while I was traveling to make sure we hit it with the staging. And I remember looking at this picture when it was sent to me thinking, this is not what I had visioned for the back. And it's just
Right.
really simple things. Again, it's the mirror. If you see the pillows on the fireplace, they're really small, and there's too many of them, and they're small, and they're in that family of the browns and blues. And I love browns and blues, but I'm more of a black and white girl. Like, I love to make statements black and white. And the bench, the seats in front of the barbecue area too, I know they're playing off the brown off the pillows, but it just felt empty and it wasn't finished to me. So we made some changes, and I'll show you what we
see
did.
those changes. Yeah.
So here's what we did. We tied the story of the black and white. I like this furniture. It's wire. It breathes. It washes off easily. The black and white pillows, I thought, added a little more to the pop of this spot rather than blending in. I felt like the other colors kind of just blended right into the fireplace. And then we added some chairs where before there were no chairs. She just had pillows, and that was the finish. And I didn't think that was a proper finish. I wanted to make another section. So we added 2 more chairs facing the people that would be sitting there. And we had little candles, containers that, even though the candles aren't in there, it's the idea that there could be some light off the sides as well. And then it just flows in with the house. If you see the dining room, the dining table out there, the entire story is now flowing visually.
Yeah, definitely. I absolutely love what and it's such small changes, right? Some pillows, some chairs, but it completely transfers everything that you feel into a whole nother setting. We'll go into the next slide as well. So this is amazing what you've done here. You see your before and after. Can you talk to me about why we've decided to do a mirror instead of the, artwork?
Sure. Yeah. That mirror was so important because it's not showing in that picture, but that mirror reflects the backyard. It's right behind you. And that backyard is what we just saw, the fire pit, the dining room table. And with an actual piece of art, when you're walking back in the house, once a buyer has walked that end of the backyard, now walking back into the house, they're not going to remember what they saw when they see that painting as we've seen our before. However, if we had that mirror, it's almost keeping it in their mind that right behind you is this glorious backyard that you're going to want to hang out, swim in, dine, fine, all that. And that's what I captured. And I thought it was so important. And there's this couple of subtle changes that were made here. One is that painting has been changed for a mirror, number one. Number two, the chairs were white, and they are beautiful chairs, and we've used them in other houses, but it just didn't work because it was too bland. I've got a white painting, white carpet, and white chairs now. To me, it's all like, it's just meshing in. I don't really have that, contrast and expansion feeling happening. So we actually just changed the chairs. If you see now, we've got a darker gray and black chairs. Still, the carpet stayed the same. We've changed the chairs, we've added a mirror, and the last thing that we popped it was the chandelier. The chandelier went in, and then that's such an accent piece to tie in that. But there's your before and after, and I think it was drastic.
And I love the mirror as well instead of the artwork, because you kind of have, people who are coming in, buyers see themselves in the house. And, it may not be artwork that, they prefer or something. I know that sometimes we've all walked into houses and been like, oh, I wouldn't put that on my wall, but I would put a mirror on my wall because I'd love to see myself in my own home.
I love your transparency. It's so true. I do. Every mirror I see, I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, exactly. We'll go on to the next slide here as well. Talk to me a little bit more about the room and the changes here.
This is so interesting. In that dining room, we wanted a mirror. We wanted people to see what they're seeing. Here in the welcoming room, now we have a mirror vertically, and I'm like, no, I don't want that there. So it's like every there's a place for everything. And this, unfortunately, this is not the mirror place in my eyes. In the stager's eyes, she saw it there, and it is beautiful. I can see why she would put it. But for me personally, I didn't particularly like this. It's a pretty massive wall there, and that vertical narrowness of the mirror made it feel a little small. It didn't capture how beautiful this is. So I wanted a bigger painting almost to reflect the size of the window. And as you can see that before, I've captured the window now. You can see how big that mirror, that window is opposite to the painting. So I wanted to balance the size of the window to an art piece on the wall. Plus, people are driving by on the front. I want them to see art. I don't want them to see a mirror of themselves on the street. The street, you know, it's nice, but it's not like anything great that I'd want to, you know, keep in their memory like I did in the dining room of the backyard. Here, I want them to see art and like, what is that? What's in that house? What's in that welcoming room? I want to go see it. And that was what we changed out, was one, to make the room look bigger, that wall, two, to complement the window that's across from it, and three, for visual when someone is driving by that actual house and then saying, I want to go in and see it.
Completely. You have done such a stellar job with, you know, all the renovations, all the staging. That was our last slide for the McConnell house. And I want to open up the floor to anyone who may have any questions. I don't see anything in the Q&A, but again, like I said, feel free to raise your hand if you want to speak with Aneela up front. Let's see if we have any questions. No, I think you might have just covered everything. No one has any questions because we've gone over everything we possibly could. I'm going to see a lot of black and white in the open houses now, right, guys?
You are, and you'll see with black and white, you can play so many, you can add these beautiful colors because the black and white is a neutral palette. And that was 101 in makeup. Black and white is your neutral palette. You can add anything to it and play off of it.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. Well, I'm getting a ton of great jobs, Aneela. They loved it. So great. So we'll go ahead and wrap up. That is it for today's session. Thank you guys for all who attended. We are hoping that after today's session, you've learned some ins and outs about renovation strategy and give you, you know, a little more competitive edge with your listings. We will send out the recording of today's sessions and a follow-up email shortly. So if you'd like to share this with your network, please go ahead. If there were any questions that we may have didn't get to or something that pops up moving forward, just go ahead and reply either directly to that email or reach out to us at contact@avenue8.com. Our next session will be next Thursday, September 1st, already almost September. We'll be joined by our San Francisco Bay Area agent, Blakely Hull, who will be discussing how to leverage your strengths as an agent. So please keep an eye on your email inbox for those details. And thank you again, the beautiful Aneela, for leading us through today's session, and for all of you who have joined.
Thank you, everyone who has joined, and thank you, Zarina. I really had a great time doing this.
Of course. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.